Hello, everyone. Welcome to the week ahead readings for the week of August 11th through 18th. I am pre-recording this week. That's come through for me as being my new routine that once a month I will be foregoing my Insight Timer class and pre-recording. So I'm recording this on Friday, August 8th. I already sat down and channeled the messages, pulled the cards, actually a few hours ago. Left the house, came back, sitting down, and I have my notes and going to be doing the full recording. So this is a little bit different. Normally when I do my week ahead readings, I have one card deck. And what came through was to pull one card from each of the three decks that I use. So I'll show them quickly. So card number 1 that you will see is from the Moon Deck Oracle Cards. Card number 2 is from the Moonology Manifestation Oracle Deck. And then card number 3 is from the Moonchild's Tarot Deck. So you will see a card from each of these three as we go through today's reading. There are, as usual, 2 collective readings. One of them has the Oracle cards together, so 2 cards, and then the second collective reading has the 1 tarot card. Like I do in my live classes, I'm going to very, very briefly, just once, show the backs of each of the cards so that you can tune into the energy and see if reading number 1 or if reading number 2 will be most relevant for you to pay attention to. So you can feel in for a sensation, a knowing, a gut feeling, etc. And then just pay special attention as we get to each of those collective readings. You may find that you relate to a combination of both. Not uncommon. Leave a comment below this video with a 1, a 2, or both to let me know which reading you channeled would resonate and or what actually resonated when you listened through. And you can also let me know how the information came through for you, as in, was it a thought, a feeling, a sensation, a knowing. Reading number 1, the first language that came through was pickup game. It was a feeling of being loose, agile, like light on our toes, quote, ready for anything, because we've trained, we're prepared, and we're excited to fight back or spar. So the clarification that I got was this isn't about violence, this isn't about aggression. Rather, we're releasing the pent-up energy that we have. And we do have the option to engage in more physical activity as a way of turning that release valve and letting it out of our system, if you want to take it the literal route. Otherwise, it's being fired up about something and ready to face it head on. And this feels like a situation or person, circumstance, that you've known about, but not for too long. So relatively recent. It could be something that happens this week or has popped up for you in relatively recent time. So the first card for this reading is the forgiveness card. And the mantra reads, I forgive and let go with loving ease. Again, that's from the Moon Deck. The emphasis here is letting go and the energetic release, which we were just talking about. And the emphasis on the language that came up was the loving ease piece. So that's referring to the fact that rather than this release stemming from hatred or negativity or wanting to attack or hurt or diminish anybody, it's stemming from love and compassion. Also, depending on your circumstances, you may literally be forgiving someone or forgiving yourself. This is a healing opportunity. And then I had the message that there was a little connective tissue here before flipping over the second card, which is from the Moonology Manifestation Deck. So the insight that came through was the fact that everything that I just described around that forgiveness card and the release of energy in a loving way corresponds to the first 3 days of this week, meaning Monday through Wednesday. Obviously, give or take a little bit depending on your time zone. After that, so we clear through Wednesday or somewhere partway through Thursday, you'll enter a new phase and the outcome of these efforts. So we had something that we were facing head on, we were leaning into releasing, maybe even forgiving, and then we enter part 2, even though it's not like a clean half of the week, but the 2/3 of the week that follow, that's phase 2. And that corresponds to the new moon in Aquarius open up to change card. And the new moon, for anyone that attends my astrology classes, I talk about the new moon, I talk about the zodiac signs, and new moons are about new beginnings. We have a clean slate. Remember, in the context of this reading, we're releasing. Once we release, we can then start something anew. As of the time that I'm recording this, the full moon in Aquarius has not happened yet, but for you watching this, it will be in your rearview mirror. And I think it's very interesting with the language here, because typically when we talk about a full moon versus a new moon, we have a release that has to happen at the full moon. And of course, we're just coming out of that energy for this week of the 11th. We had the full moon experience. We're in that release energy, which we know is what we're starting this week with. And then we're still in the Aquarius energy, interestingly enough. And for Aquarius, the reason it says open up to change is because Aquarius is about innovation and thinking a little bit outside the box. Also thinking about people. So the fact that we had the mention of compassion for the first part, these definitely have an intersection going on between the two of them. And also this idea of challenging authorities. So Aquarius is very system focused, but not in the sense that it wants to maintain the systems like Capricorn does. It's okay with tearing everything down and reworking it so that it works better for more people rather than just those at the top. To recap here, we've faced something head on. We're choosing to let go, maybe forgiving someone or forgiving ourselves, and we're embracing the change that presents through the aftermath of that energetic clearing. And then I had the final closing thought that we, quote, believe in the actions that we are taking and this new change that is coming, rather than being afraid because of the fact that we are standing on principle. This one was pretty short and sweet. Doesn't have anything to do with the fact that it's just one card. It came in like this is going to be brief. And the first word was reclamation. And I want to note here for anybody that attended my week ahead reading last week or is keeping up with my YouTube channel, I had a collective reading that started last week and goes into December, partway through the month. And that's also on my YouTube channel. So I would definitely check that out. But that involved a card spread. It was a choose your own adventure collective reading, where if you wanted to go the route of choosing something you wanted to shed or choosing something that you wanted to reclaim, you were picking ahead of time which reading you wanted to listen to. We're picking up on a little bit of that energy, but what came through for reading number 2 today in particular is that it's really in the form of a pep talk. So this might be something that you want to come back to throughout the entire week. If it's something you need to hear some of these messages again, otherwise just being prepared for needing that encouragement and support this week. So I had a nice long quote that came through as I channeled for this second message right before I actually flipped the card over. So I'll just read that off from my notes. Quote, listen to your calling and remember that your purpose never steers you wrong. Yes, maybe we don't understand it, as in our purpose, so it feels confusing and we're unclear about the destination, but that is the point. With any calling, we don't ever have a destination. Rather, we have a vision for ourselves that grows, expands, and evolves down our charted path forward. So with purpose, it's not about a destination, it's about the path that we're following, and events and transformation and all of that happens along that route forward. And the card that corresponded with the second reading is the Ace of Swords, which is perfect. Refresher, this is from the Moonchild Tarot deck, because this represents an epiphany. And what better to have an epiphany about than our calling? Where are we going? What are we doing? we're having an insight and a drop in. So that is the expectation for everyone who resonates the most with this reading, or it just may happen for everybody. But the key recommendation is that we have to be on the lookout. We have to be, because it could happen at any time throughout this week. And to trust that when you experience it and you go, oh, I think this is my aha moment. Trust that, know that it is true, acknowledge it when you receive it. So again, very, very short and sweet message for reading number 2. No recaps of the readings because of the fact that this entire recording is just recaps. So I will be diving right into the analysis portion. For reading number 1, what I loved is the fact that really it does apply to all the cards, but I'm going to focus on reading number 1 first. How similar these cards are visually. So 1, they are both purple. So they have a similar color palette. I know you can't really see it with the lighting here. So they have a similar color palette. They both have these big flowers on them. And then, of course, the fact that the woman on the Moon Deck card is doing what in yoga is referred to as camel pose. So this is a very, very deep. You have to be careful when you do this. You don't like pull your back. So you have to be intentional. You have to work your way up to doing something like this. But it is a chest opener. And so the fact that the visual is opening up and then the second card is opening up to change, I thought was a really nice, what kind of felt like an Easter egg. So there's more connecting than what might initially meet the eye for these two. And then, of course, if we bring in that second reading, really all 3 of these, like, look how coordinated they are. And they all have, I'm not even kidding, I'm going to show them all up close so you can see it. Hopefully the lighting doesn't blur it, but they have the same exact flowers on them. They all have kind of like a pink and purple, gray vibe going on, and they have the same exact flowers. So what are the odds of this? I pull one card from 3 different decks, which have varying amounts of cards within them, and they all happen to be ones that look exactly the same, pretty much, like the closest match that you could possibly get. So I'll just show the little side by side so you can see here. So here's like the example of the flowers. And then we have flowers. We have flowers here. This one isn't showing as clearly, but we have the flowers. And this one is a little darker and grayer. And then we also have the flowers here as well. So you can see that they're pretty much the same exact kind of flower. They look like not exactly lotuses. If someone is, more versed in what flowers are, but from my eye, they all look very, very similar. Message-wise, across these 2 readings, we were picking up on the fact that we are in the early stages of something. So we have a release that's happening, and then we are opening up so that we're open to something else transpiring. And then we also have, it's an insight that drops in. And both of those are carrying, well, once you clear, once you allow change in, once you allow the divine in, now you can do something. So we're at the early stages of a journey. And as far as these cards overlapping, like could you tap into both readings? What came through pretty clearly was there are no restrictions for both of these happening at the same time. And I'll give some examples. So let's say you're releasing something and then you have an epiphany because now you've cleared. So you've cleared something out, you have an epiphany, and then you are open to making a change. That's one way. You also could have forgiveness, release, letting go, confronting something head on. And then you are open to making a change now that you have taken those steps forward. And then the change comes in the form of an epiphany. You have a realization based on the change in circumstances. That second scenario of the epiphany card coming last came across like it was the least likely, but it doesn't mean that it won't happen for some people. And of course, the other option is that the epiphany happens first. So you have the aha moment, and then you decide to let something go or to forgive somebody and make a change, and they could go with each other, on top of each other, all mixed up together. So that is it for the collective readings for the week of August 11th through 18th. Please let me know in the comments or reach out to me on socials. Send me an email or a message with how this relates to you, how it's presenting as the week transpires, and be on the lookout for other videos coming on my YouTube channel this week for the astrology transit. They're going to be dropping throughout the entire month. Plus, I have some different series and sample readings and all that good stuff. To my Insight Timer students, I will be back with a week ahead reading next Monday on the 18th. And I also will have a class this week where we're doing mini natal chart readings. So I hope to see you there.